Right, so it's Andy here for Going Nomad AKA Pigs on Bikes, and this is what to do when you've successfully landed your first job interview for an English teaching job in Cambodia. Ooh, first TEFL job interview. Cool. Right. Yeah, right, where are I? This is a video because I've just been watching all the way back to 7 months ago, answering a question on one of my other videos, and that video was me sitting on the beach talking about how to get your first job interview as an English teacher in Cambodia, right? And I realised then that during the video, I said that I would also do another one about getting the interview and what to do in the interview. Okay, right. I realised I haven't done that one. So 7 months later, right, I found the same T-shirt that I was wearing in the other video. It's just a bit of spot the difference. Yeah, same T-shirt, same beard, nearly. Yeah. And you've just got to spot the difference between this video and the one that I'm talking about, which is the 8 steps on how to get your first interview as an English teacher in Cambodia. Right, and this video is on what to do when you've got that interview. Okay, right. So link here for the other video, and let's just stop messing around. Let's get straight into it. Right, okay. When you start applying for English teaching jobs, my experience only, not anybody else's experience, just what I've experienced, right? Things happen really quickly. You hand out your CVs and the same day, can you come for an interview? When can you come for an interview? Look, if the school's looking for somebody, they're looking for somebody. They've got a classroom full of kids that needs teaching, right? They're not going to mess around. They've either got a vacancy or they haven't. Yeah, and if they've got one, they'll want to fill it really quickly. So when you start handing out your CVs, also be prepared for the interview to happen really quickly. So do your prep before you start applying. Prep for the interview before you start applying. Apply to loads of schools, because then you've got you will have a pick of which schools you take the interviews from and not. But anyway, yeah, so be prepared to go for an interview. And to be prepared, right, what I mean is you need to have interview style clothing, obviously. Now, I've seen some teachers in Cambodia think they can go for a job interview in a t-shirt and a pair of jeans. It's just insulting. That really is insulting, because most teachers in Cambodia, most Khmer teachers in Cambodia, are professionals. As teachers are in the West, as they're professionals, that's their job. And they dress in a professional manner, and the school expects you as a teacher to behave professionally and look like a teacher. And in Cambodia, teachers look like we do in the West when we go to work in a normal office, which is sensible office trousers, a nice pair of shoes, a shirt, and sometimes a tie as well. Some schools have tie, a long sleeved shirt. Okay, so get yourselves these clothes ready. Okay. Have a haircut, have a shave, look respectable. If you've got tattoos, try and cover them up, okay? A lot of the top end schools have policies which say no showing tattoos, okay? So long sleeve shirt anyway for the interview. I'm not saying this is the way it's always going to be. Long sleeve shirt for the interview, haircut, shave. There's loads of it, mate. I've made notes, yeah, I'm reading off the notes. I can't remember all of this in the right order. But anyway, yeah, have a shave. Get yourself in your clothes, make sure you look all right, nice belt if you need one, you know, think about how you're presenting, because you're going to go for something that's going to be worth 20 grand to you, probably, you know, if you're going to do it for a year, 20 grand, 20,000 US dollars, something like that. Make it look like you care. So then the other thing that you're going to say, right, you're going to need something to take with you. Don't just turn up empty-handed, right? I've interviewed loads of people in my previous line of work, interviewed junior technicians, engineers, like junior engineers and things like this. a lot of site stuff. If they don't turn up with something in their hands, I think that they don't care, or I think that they've got it all in their head. And if they've got it all in their head, it's like, why are they applying for this job? Why are they not on Mastermind or a professor of something at university? Because you can't keep it all in your head, it's unrealistic. So things to take with you, I always take a folder. I always take 3 copies of my CV, right? And the reason for that is because when you get in to the interview, your interviewer might not be prepared, or your interviewer might be looking at the wrong CV. Yeah, you want to make sure that you're all reading from the same sheet. And also, if you take your own CV, you know what they're reading. So if somebody's like pointing halfway down the page, you've got it in front of you. You go, oh, they're looking at my work experience. Okay, I know what question's coming next. Yeah, take a copy of your CV. Take a copy of your ID. You might be asked to show your ID. Take a pen and a pencil. Take a pen at least, something to write with. Make sure it works. Take 2. You know, it's like prep for an exam, really, as well. Okay. Take the notes that you've made on the research for the school, and whilst you can't do that at this stage, have something in there to remind you to take notes about the school that you're going for a job interview at. Okay. And a copy of your certificates, right? You want at least 1 copy of each of your certificates. Okay, so at least if they ask, you can go, yeah, sure, I've got my certificate. Yeah, here it is, like this. And you want to take a copy of your TEFL certificate if you've got one, your bachelor's if you've got one, any other certificates that you think are worthwhile. Take a copy with you. It doesn't cost anything. It looks good as well. Print out anything that you're going to want to use in evidence when they start asking you questions. So they might ask you a question like, for example, on what's your favourite teaching method, or things like that, and you might have already something that you've done in that, you know, using that method. And it might be on Facebook. There might be pictures on Facebook or Instagram or you know, whatever. Print it out and take it so you've got something to show them. Hard physical evidence of your skills, experience, qualifications and passion for the roles. Right? Right, good. So anyway, blah, 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 evidence. Right, my favourite bit. Know before you go. Okay, know before you go. Know the school before you go there. So do the work online. It takes 5 minutes to Google the name of the school. Most schools have their own website. They've also got their own, most schools now have got their own blog, haven't they? Or they've got their own Facebook group, or they've got something online. They've got an online social media presence. Check it out, right? And also see, especially if you're on Facebook and you know a few people there already, see if any of them are on that Facebook group, because this will give you an idea of who you can talk to find out a little bit of extra info. Know before you go. It's not stalking them, honestly. It's not. It's just being a bit clever, isn't it? And picking out information that can give you a better picture of what the job is going to be like when you're in it, and also what the interview is going to be like. Okay. So yeah, look for their recent events, their major achievements, anything in the press. Look in the local press website, you know, stuff like this. Phnom Penh Post or something like this, you know, you can try that. Ask all of your connections. LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn. Why aren't you on LinkedIn? Just get on LinkedIn. Facebook, of course, you know. All your other socials, Snapchat and Instagram and things like that. Look at all your connections. Try and find somebody who works there or work with somebody who works there. Okay, and then you can glean a little bit of extra info from them. And you can ask, if you can find a teacher that already teaches there, you can ask them what their daily kind of routine is, if you can build up that kind of chat with them. And also have a look, see what kind of text they're using and the curriculum and things like this. But, you know, more information about. Right. The next thing to do is you're going to want to practice getting from where you are going to leave from to the place of interview. Now this sounds, some people think this sounds crazy, right? But think about the time that you're going to do it, right? Don't practice run it at 2 in the afternoon if you're going to have the interview at 8 in the morning, because at 8 in the morning you're going to be in rush hour, aren't you? And it's going to take ages to get to where you want to go, yeah? The other thing to think about, especially in Cambodia, is how are you going to get there, right? So you can go by motor, or you can go by cycle, or you can go by tuk-tuk, right? And you can do all of these things, and you're in your really spanking shirt, tie, you're looking really sharp, you get in one of these things and it rains. Yeah, it rains. And what do you look like when you turn up for the interview? Just like a drowned, pathetic rat, wringing out your tie, and all your notes are all wet and everything. Just get a taxi. I know it's extra money. Just get a taxi. Get a taxi, aircon. Sit in the aircon, nice and cool. Arrive for the job interview fresh, on time, hopefully, sharp, you know, not covered in road dust or rain or whatever you're covered in. Yeah, just get the taxi. It's worth it. It's worth it. Go for a job interview. Come on. Try and run that at the right time of the day, on the right day, and aim to be there 15 minutes early. And if you're a little bit early, right, if you're a little bit early and you don't feel comfortable going in that early, then you just have a little walk around outside, or maybe just go and get a quick cold drink from somewhere. Obviously, you don't want to walk in at the interview smelling of booze, and you don't want to walk in smelling of cigarettes, because you're going to be teaching in a school. So those are two things that I personally wouldn't do, either of those. So when you arrive at the school, hopefully 10 minutes early, go in the entrance, main entrance, and obviously you talk to the receptionist, the reception staff, and they will probably make you wait until the person they're already interviewing, if your interview's at say 10, the person who's on the 9:30 to 10 interview, you know, they'll just be coming out at about 10 o'clock and you'll be going in. Saying that, I've never had an interview that's lasted for less than half an hour, and yeah, most of them have lasted around an hour actually, you know, so prep for that, okay? So you're waiting. So whilst you're waiting, what you can do is don't sit on your phone like this. I don't know, to me that just feels a bit bad. Like, review your notes that you've made, like recap on what the school's all about, on the names of the people you're meeting. So by the time you get into the building, you should know who you're meeting, or at least one of the people. Right, okay, right, we're nearly finished. Interview. Right, you're actually in the interview. You're sitting there, you're going, hi, my name's Andy and I want to be an English teacher at your school. Obviously, yeah, you can say it like that. It's probably not ideal, but greet each of the interviewers warmly with a nice handshake and say, hi, my name's Andy. Hi, my name's Andy. Like this. And then they're going to be asking you loads of questions. Now, they might explain some of the roles and responsibilities or what they're looking for, but you should already know this because you've had the job spec from them. If you haven't had the job spec from them, or if you haven't got the job spec, like 2 days before, email them. Say, can I have a look at the job spec? You know, you want to know what you're walking into, don't you? They're going to ask you loads of questions, okay? And they're all standard questions. They could ask you anything, couldn't they? But I'll tell you some of the things that I've been asked. Right, first of all, okay, right, hang on, before we go any further, link here to monsterjobs.co.uk. It's a website in England, and it's got how to answer the 10 most commonly asked questions in interviews. Brilliant. Just check this out. Okay, not yet. Wait until the end of, you know, me before you clear off. All right. Right. But you're going to be asked loads of questions, and some of them are standard interview questions. Most of them are going to be based on who, what, when, where, how and why. So if you can think on any question that's related to teaching English on any of those, that's the possibilities that they're going to ask you. Who, what, when, where, how, why. Some of the more complex ones that I've been asked are based on discipline. If it's your first teaching gig, you might not necessarily have a great understanding of maintaining discipline in the classroom or classroom management. And what I would do before you go for a job as an English teacher in a classroom, particularly in Cambodia, is I would try and watch some YouTube on classroom management skills. And I did this after I'd been teaching for about a month, so I realised I was not very good at managing the classroom, managing behaviour. They don't teach you this in a TEFL. Do the research on classroom management techniques, okay? I'll ask you something about how do you maintain discipline in the classroom. You need to have a structure in place. So, for example, quick rundown of the structure I used was that you had, I asked you once to do something. If you didn't do it, I asked you again. And if you still didn't do it then I wrote your name on the board. I under a yellow card, and then if I had to ask you again, you were on a red card, and then if I had to ask you again, you had detention at break time with our discipline teacher who used to run break time detentions. Usually by the time we got to that stage, like, that had dealt with any problem in the classroom. Usually the red card had red card. And what I used to have also was a yellow card was 1 minute stay on at the end of lesson if it's break time, and 2 minutes for a red card if it's break time. So that way you don't escalate to the highest point of the discipline chain possible. Like, I'm going to phone your mum. If you don't be quiet, I'm going to phone your mum. Well, it's just like you've just aced everything, haven't you? You haven't got anything left in reserve. You've got to keep a little bit left anyway. Watch the classroom management technique things, they're really good. You'll pick up loads and loads of extra tips. So loads and loads of questions. What's your previous experience? Can you give me examples of things that you've done? Now, I had no previous experience teaching kids, but I did have quite a lot teaching young people in youth centres and also junior staff in civil engineering. Okay, teaching them site-based skills and things like this. So I could draw on that. I also used to teach bass guitar, and I used to teach rock climbing as well, a little bit of impromptu bass guitar and a little bit of just teaching some people I know rock climbing, not in a professional manner at all. So I could draw on those experiences of how I've shown somebody else how to do something. And you can, if you've got no teaching experience, there must be some point in your life where you've helped somebody learn how to do something, in which case you can use that as an experience, as an example of your experience and of a job well done. Right, good. Challenges. That's something else they could ask you is, can you give me an example when you've found something challenging, or where you found somebody's behaviour challenging, or where you've been challenged as an adult, or where your authority has been challenged or something like that, and you need to have something in backup just in case that question comes up as well. Okay. So you go through the interview, and all of these questions are designed to make you just talk about yourself, right? And sometimes they're trying to see if you can ask them questions as well, a little bit. I got that feeling a lot. It's like, what is he going to ask us? So, okay, so at the end, if you haven't asked many questions, at the end they'll say to you, have you got any questions? Now, some of the questions that you're going to write down, because you are going to write down, because we're going to prep for the interview, aren't we? So that's going to be part of the preparation, is the questions, right? So some of the questions that you've written down, I've written them down, look, written down the questions here. You might have already talked about, okay, and that's okay to say, I think, during the interview. So, oh, I'm glad that we're talking about this, because this was going to be one of my questions later, yeah. And if you've got your notes with you, you can actually say, look, it was one of my questions later. Not exactly like that, but you can point it out to them, say, oh yeah, it's one of my questions for later, this is good. And that shows that at least you've gone into the interview prepped. And it just so happens that what they want to talk about is what you want to talk about as well, and that's fine, isn't it? But the things that you might want to talk about is the discipline regime. Is like, what are the school rules, you know, regarding discipline. Bearing in mind that in Asia, you know, some schools, not any school that I'd want to work at, but some schools do still encourage whacking them with a ruler. Yeah. Sadly. You might want to talk about the curriculum as well, and about subjects that you're expected to teach. Now, I went for a job, the first school I went as English teacher. I ended up teaching geography, science, maths, all sorts that I had no real interest in teaching. Saying that, I found them really good fun, and I enjoy any form of teaching, actually, to be honest. But yeah, think about the curriculum and think about what, you know, ask what not exactly, but ask sort of what subjects you're expected to teach. Is it just English, or are you expected to teach other things as well? And ask about the testing as well, as how often do they test the kids, and who is going to do the testing, who marks the testing, how long does the testing period last, is it just 1 day a month, is it 1 day a semester, and things like that. So you can ask a little bit like that. The other thing that you can ask is, do you get a teaching assistant, or in Cambodia they call it a TA? Now, if your class size is more than 30, then I would want a TA with that, but I wouldn't want my class size to be more than about 24. 25's a little bit. 25 depends on the age. But 25 K3, that's difficult, you know. 25, that's on your own. 30 with the TA is really easy actually. So and you can have a great laugh with a TA as well. You can, like with 2 of you in the classroom, you can play some good games, and you can do some good activities with two adults in the classroom. Yeah. So yeah, you have to make your mind up about that kind of thing. So yeah, the class size, you know, that's always a good thing. Is like, what's the maximum class size? What's the minimum? You know, I've taught classes of 2 people. Like during summer school, I had 2 students in one class, and of course, a class with 2 students in is going to be so different to a class with 35 in, which is what I had at the first school that I worked in. 35 students all day, every day, and I had a TA, so it was actually okay because I had a TA. But that's, you know, your class is going to be so different, having those differences in class size and everything in between. And then also, if you want to ask other questions, then it can be like other duties that are expected, like what else am I expected to do as a teacher? You know, obviously, because there's going to be marking exams, there's going to be setting homework, there's obviously going to be teaching lessons. Are you also expected to do gate duty on a Wednesday, 20 minutes before school starts or something like that? You know, ask that, because maybe you don't want to, or maybe you do want to. Sometimes you don't get paid for that kind of thing. Do you get paid for it? Are you expected to run after school club? Are you expected to stay after school for anything in particular? And that's not in a bad way. Some things are really cool, aren't they? You know. And just things like that. So what other duties are expected of you? Okay. So they're all questions. So then you come to the end of the interview. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully it's been really good. And hopefully you've been chatting and you're all best friends now, and they're definitely going to give you the job, and you didn't trap your tie in the door on the way out, as they showed you out via reception and back down the front steps of the school. Hopefully they've shown you around the school. Okay, you know, it's a good time to get to see the school and where you're working, and stick your head in other people's classrooms and have a quick look if you can, you know, to see what the general sort of state of play is. Look at the facilities. Yeah, just have a good look around and make sure, you know, can you imagine yourself working there? Right, try and get there. You know, if your interview's at break time, that's very interesting as well. Walking through a school on break and seeing what the kids are doing, you know, gives you a good impression, or gives you a good indication what the school's like. So yeah, so there's all some things to think about. And then of course you're waiting. You're just waiting for a yes or a no. When you close the interview, just confirm their notification method, yes or no way, because you don't want to be hanging on for 2 weeks thinking, yeah, I've got that job, when they actually say, no, if you haven't heard from us within 72 hours, then you haven't succeeded, you know. So get that cleared up in the interview if it's not already, you know, written somewhere. Yeah, with a lot of schools, you might be asked to do a demo lesson. Okay, I've done another video on demo lessons, and I'll put a link in here again, somewhere, or here, I don't know, whichever side. Doing a demo lesson I've had to do it once out of the 2 interviews I had in Cambodia. I got both jobs. I didn't have to do it on the first one because the school was absolutely desperate. I did have to do it on the second one, and I'm glad that I did, because it was very, very interesting. Okay, interview lesson prep thing here. Okay, check that out. Alright, good. I hope that's answered all your questions. Put them below if you've got any comments. Like, share, subscribe. Email me at goingnomad123 at gmail, goingnomad123 at gmail.com. Check out my website, www.goingnomad123.com, and yeah, great luck if you're going for a job interview. Here's the best luck for you, and I really hope that you get it. Take care out there. Bye.